Apple's just released lots of new gadgets. And with the TTJ Holiday Gift Guide coming up in less than a month, we take a look at them today. Are they worth it? And should you upgrade? Which one of these devices, maybe several, will make our gift guide? All this and more on the TTJ Tech Talk. We're so glad to have you, my friends. Welcome to our show today. Absolutely, and just so glad to have all of you. Praise God. Hope everybody's doing well. I know we are here as well. Praise God. And before we get started, I do want to remind you that if you are watching on YouTube, as I suspect you are, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Now, what does that mean, of course, my friends? That means to leave a like on this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube if you've not already had a chance to do so. And then please reach up, you know you want to, and smash that notification bell because that is how you will stay in the loop with everything TTJ. And don't forget to visit us at our website, our brand new website at www.ttjtech.biz. That's a B-I-Z, Bravo, Indigo, Zulu, ttjtech.biz, because we mean business. All right, my friends. Well, it's been a busy time for Apple, and we want to take a look at some of the products that they've announced. I will give my thoughts. I will be talking a bit about sort of how we establish our gift guide, although I won't be revealing the specific products on that gift guide yet, but that is coming in less than a month. All right, with less than a month to go until the big reveal of the holiday gift guide prior to the Christmas and holiday shopping season. We've got to get all this information sorted out, my friends. And so let's do it. Now, you know, there's been some interesting reactions in the, among the tech community. And by that, I mean the reviewers and, the pundits, what have you, in the media, on YouTube and other places. Interesting reactions, I'll say, to say the least. We're going to break it down for you, see if I agree with a lot of those or not. And it's not about whether or not I agree. Praise God, we can all think what we want. But I want to be another voice here, and hopefully the voice that you'll trust about these products. So let's talk about what Apple is releasing. Basically, what it boils down to is iPads and Apple TV, or Apple TVs, plural, I suppose. All right. So let's actually start with a sort of an overview of these products. First of all, the Apple TV lineup has become entirely comprised now of Apple TV 4K devices. The Apple TV HD is gone from the Apple Store, has been completely removed from the line. Of course, you may still be able to get it from third-party retailers, but why? When you see the benefits of these new products, to me, it doesn't make sense to do anything other than the latest, and in my opinion, the absolute greatest. So there are two Apple TV models now in the lineup, both which will be available to purchase in store, and will also be arriving to customers on, I guess it's, I think that's a Friday. I think it's Friday, November the 4th, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the date. And basically, you can pre-order them now if you want to do that. And they are, again, that's November the 4th, but you can pre-order now. They are being categorized as Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi plus Ethernet. So your top-of-the-line model has Ethernet, has thread support, all of these things that you would expect. And it has increased storage, which we'll talk about in a moment. But now, for the first time, they've got a device with Wi-Fi only, which is what most of us are using anyway. And that device starts at just $129. That is $50 off of the previous Apple TV 4K. So for this third generation Apple TV 4K, we actually have a nice low introductory price, the lowest introductory price directly from Apple on any Apple TV, and that is $129. Now for that, you get a Wi-Fi only Apple TV with 64 gigabytes of storage. So that is the same as the previously $199 model when it comes to storage. But for $20 more, for $149, you'll get the Apple TV 4K with Wi-Fi plus Ethernet. So now you're back to having that Ethernet port, the thread support, and they've doubled the storage to 128 gigabytes of onboard storage. I think, in my personal opinion, my friends, this is the model to get. Now, what else have they done besides lowering the price and differentiating them in this way? Well, they've upgraded the processor from the A12 Bionic all the way up to the A15 Bionic, the same processor that is currently being used on the regular iPhone 14 and 14 Plus, my friends. That's quite a substantial change. And the Siri remote has now become a USB-C device rather than a Lightning device for charging. Some higher-end support for HDR10, so the high dynamic range. We're continuing to increase the support for video and high-end video and audio on this device with this HDR improvement. And we are looking at, of course, Wi-Fi 6. So truly the best Apple TV that's ever been made. And in my opinion, some substantial changes from the last release. Now, let's talk about that. Do I upgrade? Well, here's the thing. When you first glance at this Apple TV, what you think to yourself is there's really nothing stand out. And by that, what the tech community often means is, well, they don't have, some revolutionary new feature that's going to just totally change everything, right? And I'm not sure they need to. A lot of the tech community relies on that as their measuring rod of what's a good product, or at least what's a good upgrade, or what's good innovation. And I'm not, I think we're going to have to wrap our minds around the fact that while technology is constantly changing, and there will always be new products and innovations, and what is new today will be yesterday's news tomorrow, I also believe that not every year has to be a wow year in standout features, right? Sometimes just improving upon the already awesome product that is already there really makes the most sense. And that is what's demonstrated by this year's upgrades to the Apple TV. They are big, whether you think that they are or not. And the reason that they're big is because we are moving 3 processor generations forward. The A12 Bionic, which was the processor put on the, oh boy, guys, now was it iPhone 11 or was it actually the 10R and 10S and those? I think it was that one, but it might have been 11. I apologize. I have to sit here and actually figure it out. But, we're going several years back either way. So, and we're going from that processor all the way up to the A15 Bionic. So huge changes. That's going to change not only speed, they've also added a gigabyte of RAM. I almost forgot to mention it. Praise God. Thank you, Lord. He reminded me, because you don't want to forget about that extra gigabyte. The previous Apple TVs that you might have sitting in your house right now only have 3 gigabytes of memory, but we added a 4th gigabyte, total of 4 gigs of RAM. And what we also do there is continue to increase performance and especially continue to increase longevity, how long these products can last. And that is so important. So, my friends, that's what I can say. It's a great upgrade because you've increased the RAM, you've increased the processor, increased HDR support, doubled the storage, and lowered the price. I mean, you really just can't beat that combination of things. It's all the stuff that really matters. tvOS 16 adds some nice features, and that's going to continue to improve, and it will allow the software to continue to evolve the hardware for the next several years anyway. And while I'm sure there'll be more Apple TV releases before that, you'll be able to keep this device for several years and maybe more. And also, I would point out that it's going to improve gaming performance and responsiveness, which really were not bad at all anyway, because the Apple TV, even running an A12 Bionic, as one reviewer said one time, it's almost comically powerful, especially when compared. Now, I'm adding this part in there to some degree. I don't know that the person said this exactly in this way, but especially when compared to everything else that's out there, right? If you buy something with, Android TV software or your Fire Sticks, and so what you're going to find is just incredibly, quite honestly, in my opinion, most of the time underpowered hardware that's actually not enough to meet the demands, especially for us screen reader users, right? And so there are very few devices out there that really are powered the way they ought to be. Now there are some that run well, and some of the provider ones, like I'm thinking X1 from Comcast, the Xfinity boxes, and other companies that use some of that same stuff. That equipment seems to do very, very well and be very responsive. But a lot of the stuff you can go out and buy that's got Android TV in some form, or one of these others. It seems to be that they don't put too much power into it. And so you can look at the prices and you can say, oh my, I can go out and spend over $100 for the Apple TV, or I can buy an Android TV, Google TV for $29 or $35 or whatever it is. You can, but at the end of the day, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into with lack of power and some of these other things, right? Because it costs money to make these things that high of quality. So the power in the A12 Bionic that powers the ones currently that might be sitting on our entertainment centers or our shelves or what have you is really already very powerful and was no slouch and still won't be for several years. But the A15 Bionic just takes that to even a whole new level. And the fact that the storage was upgraded, I think, is very, very important. I honestly had hoped that the last Apple TV had been released with an option for 128. But this year they just went ahead and did it, and they did it across the board. So they doubled the storage even in the lower storage model, the entry-level model, I suppose, which is a 64 gigabyte now, and that's for just $129. So another very cool factor here is that price. That's going to allow this to get into even more hands, more people willing to run out and more people willing to just run out and buy it, and maybe even on a whim in some cases, and of course not regret it because it's a fantastic device. So, all right, that is the Apple TV. Again, you can go ahead and pre-order that now. Do it, my friends. You won't regret it. And it will be available in store and will be delivered to you if you've pre-ordered it by November the 4th. And I do believe that's still an available date right now if you go to the Apple Store app or online, store.apple.com. Give them a call, 800-MY-APPLE. You can also pre-order from Walmart and a few other places. They've also got these available, which they should ship out on the availability date as well. So you ought to get them, within a couple of days. So if you prefer to buy from Walmart, or one of the other retailers, that's a possibility also. So Apple TV, 4K, third generation as it's known if you really want to be technical about it, but it's the latest model, 2022 model. Again, Wi-Fi only for $129 with 64 gigabytes of storage, and Wi-Fi plus Ethernet with 128 gigabytes of storage for $149. Make sure you get ready to use a USB-C cable, because I thought I read maybe that they don't even ship one with it. I don't know if I'm right about that. I apologize if I'm not. So if you don't already have a USB-C charge cable, which is USB-C on both ends, you might want to pick one up and certainly plug it into your adapters and so forth. And that, can plug into any of your Apple 20-watt jobs or your 35-watt dual port adapter if you've got that. And so again, it is USB-C now to charge the remote. All right, my friends, it is time we move on to the other big announcement of the day, and that is iPads. There have been 2 iPads that have been introduced here, the iPad 10th generation and the new iPad Pro, which just depends on which size you're looking at, exactly what generation that is, but probably easier to just go by 2022. All right, so let's start out talking about what has happened here, what it's done to the line, and why it's getting some degree of criticism from folks, though it's criticism that I personally feel is not quite deserved. So Apple decided to introduced their 10th generation iPad, obviously the successor to the 9th generation, known as the 10.2-inch iPad previously, or by some known as the entry-level model. Again, the most direct descendant of the original iPad released way back now in 2010. This year's iPad 10th generation model was a complete redesign, bringing this so-called entry-level iPad in line with the rest of the iPad models. But the story takes an interesting twist, because what Apple has done is they've actually left the 9th generation entry-level model in their lineup of currently available products. You can buy that for just $329, as you've always been able to, which means educational institutions ought to be able to buy that still for $299, maybe lower on sale some places if you look hard enough. Now, for that, you still get the exact same 9th generation iPad. As far as I know, there have not been any internal changes made under the hood, but I could be wrong. That gives you that A13 Bionic and the exact same iPad you were able to get just a few weeks ago, and it's still for the same price of $329. The iPad 10th gen actually begins at $449. Now, this is weird because some reviewers are already starting to, criticize that, saying, oh, it really confuses people. It's got so much in the lineup. Yes, it is true that the iPad lineup is quite big at this point. But what I actually think it does is it provides an opportunity to have something for everybody, right? Almost anyone can get their hands on an iPad that they will love. And the $449 price tag for the entry-level 10th generation iPad is still, mind you, $50 lower than the original release of the iPad that was released back in 2010. So for that $449 and up, of course, because they do go on up from there, what do you get? Well, what you are getting, first of all, as I mentioned already, is a completely redesigned iPad that now features the same flat edges and sort of newer, futuristic maybe is at this point too strong, but current design of all the others. So we're looking at this same beautiful iPad, the one you're so familiar with if you are into the iPad Air or even the Pro as of 2018. We have the flat edges. We have the all-screen display, basically. We have the liquid retina display, and we do away, of course, finally, with the home button. So what we're seeing now is Touch ID in the top button, and this beautiful, gorgeous display, which, of course, now has been made a 10.9-inch display, liquid retina, rather than 10.2. So the screen not only has gotten bigger, the quality is just insane, and really, really fantastic in this 10.9-inch liquid retina display. As I mentioned, redesigned to sort of have this all-screen, although there are a little bit of bezels compared to, let's say, the iPad Pro or maybe even the iPad Air, just to a slight extent. It's a tiny bit heavier at 1.06 pounds for the Wi-Fi Plus cellular model, but that's down from 1.09 pounds in the 9th generation model. So it's still quite a great device. Going to feel pretty much like the iPad Air, I think, in the hand, maybe just a tad bit heavier. And it's going to look gorgeous. This display is going to be beautiful. Now, alas, it isn't quite the same display as you will find on the iPad Air. And again, that has been a siren call for some of the techies to just sort of go to their soapboxes, right? And I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm sure they're wonderful people. God loves them, and I know he'll bless them as he blesses my family and me, and all ever abundantly. I pray that, it's not a criticism. Wow, new word. It's not a criticism of the people, okay? I just happen to disagree with them very strongly and feel they're very, very wrong here, and I think they're misleading people, quite honestly. So what are the differences? Well, one of the main differences is they didn't fully laminate this display in the 10th generation iPad. It does not have the anti-reflective coating, and it's not fully laminated. It also doesn't have the wide color P3 color gamut. It uses the, I think it's the SVGA, it's called, just below that. So, here, again, people are just saying, oh, I can't believe they did that. That's terrible. And One of them used some language I won't use of what they did to the customer. Guys, first of all, we need to back off a second and realize that most users are not us in the techie world, in the tech community. Okay, these things that matter to us, whether it's because we just think on principle that they should matter or because we can actually notice them, still are not going to matter to most people. And that's true on all ends of the spectrum, right? It's true of people who are doing high-end stuff. It's also true of kids and parents and grandparents and grandkids and families and, and pastors, and it's true of teachers who need to get the lesson plans taught, and it's true of doctors, and it's true of airplane pilots and restaurant managers and business owners. It's true of all of these people that they aren't going to care. Now listen, if in fact you hold up, and this is what I have heard since all the way clear back to the 6th generation iPad in 2018, if you continue to hold a non-laminated display directly next to a fully laminated one, yes, you're going to see a difference. And you're going to notice that, hey, maybe when I'm drawing with that Apple Pencil, it sort of looks like on the non-laminated one, I'm going to be drawing on a piece of glass that's covering my, easel or drawing canvas or whatever. Whereas on an iPad with a fully laminated display, it looks as though I'm drawing right on the surface. And yeah, that's cool. But only when they're side by side are you even going to notice that that's a thing. And let's not forget, my friends, this is still considered the base model iPad here, even though there's one now below it in the 9th gen. This is still a $449 starting price on this iPad. You will never find another product, another tablet from any other company that is that quality for that price, right? Because again, what a lot of the companies do, they underpower them. Look, what are your choices? Android OS on something that it's hard to tell what's been done to that, or Chrome OS, which in my opinion isn't really an OS at all. Now look, I love Google in a lot of ways. I love Nest products. I use Google heavily in our home automation stuff. And, you have to give credit where credit is due. But it is possible, maybe just possible, for two things to be correct. It is possible that I can love Google Nest and believe Google's a great company with great intentions and still think that their Chromebooks and Chrome OS is just not worth buying. All right, and that happens to be the case. And people will argue with me, oh, it's an OS because it has this, that, and the other thing. But look, at the end of the day, it's not really anything even remotely close to what iPad OS, or for that matter, even Android is. And if you're buying these to do high-end tasks, you're buying the wrong devices, because Apple iPads are the only ones which have the ability, the capability, the power, the functionality, or even the apps available to do high-end stuff, right? Now, this new Google Pixel tablet, is that going to change that and actually provide some real competition? It remains to be seen. I don't know. I doubt it. I have my doubts because looking at the way Google tends to equip its products, depending on their philosophies on what can be done, I don't know. But the bar is pretty high. Maybe they'll reach it. I don't know. Again, I have my doubts, but it doesn't matter, right? Time will tell, and we'll see, and we'll find out. But here's the bottom line. You're not going to find another iPad you're not going to find another tablet like that iPad at that price point. And it still is $150 lower than the iPad Air, which is pretty significant for some people. All right. So, praise God, my family and I, we can afford all these different ones. For a lot of people, that's all they're going to be able to afford. And they need something at that price point. And so the idea that it is still a beautiful display, and it's still, Retina, very high end, all these things, it just makes sense. Liquid Retina display 10.9. Don't worry about, the fact that it's not fully laminated. And this is not just some blind guy who doesn't know any better. Again, all the reviews universally have always said that it is still a gorgeous display. And that was when it was the 9.7 and 10.2 inch display. Now it's even more beautiful, even more stunning, and really and truly one of the best displays out there, just not quite as high end as the ones in the models above it, like the iPad Air and Pro models, okay? And how about using it outside without the anti-reflective coat? Look, people do it. My kids do it all the time, and I've never heard them complain about it. We shouldn't be looking at it in direct sunlight anyway. So, for a lot of reasons, right? So, not something I would get too worked up about. Good to know, good to understand, what the differences are, and that's why we've pointed them out. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be something that most people are going to be overly concerned with, not as concerned as the tech reviewers have been saying over the past week. I think when it actually gets into customer hands and you start seeing reviews there, they are not going to care. That's really what I believe. All right, what else has changed about this iPad? The design, and that includes now the use of USB-C. So for the first time, we've really ramped that up. I don't know if they're getting 10 gigabytes or 20 gigabytes Gbps of transfer speed, but either way, that's a huge improvement over the approximately 480 megs that Lightning is typically known for getting. And that's important on a Pro level device. And yes, my friends, even though this one doesn't have the name Pro with it, it is truly a Pro level device. See, again, people often think that it is not because it doesn't have the word Pro. Everything you can do with the Pro, you can do with this model iPad, except for Stage Manager in iPad OS at this point. Pretty much, that's about the only thing. But, you know, running the apps and so forth, you're going to have that same opportunity. Now, what's been done with the internals of this thing, first of all, and then we'll talk a little more about the stuff that customers will notice. Well, we've gone up one processor generation to the A14 Bionic. Now, that processor is phenomenal. I got to tell you, my friends, that's the same processor that is in use on iPhone 12 and 12 Pro devices. And it is the A14 Bionic. It is a 6-core processor. I guess it's quad-core graphics and 16-core neural engine. And they have added in another gigabyte of RAM to bring it up to a total of 4 gigabytes of RAM, which I thought was a very important move, perhaps even more important than increasing the processor speed. Okay, both are good, and you know they needed to do both, but really and truly, the biggest thing there is something you're not even going to see, and most of the spec sheets won't even tell you, and that is the RAM increase. Because what that does, again, not only does it improve performance, but the processor is going to help do that as well. But it's also going to continue to improve the longevity of this device so that we ought to be able to have it in our hands for many years and have a very pleasant experience right up until we do finally decide it's time to upgrade it. So this device is absolutely fantastic with its internal upgrades. Now, as part of the redesign, you also get stereo speakers in landscape mode, again, which is like the iPad Air. And so that is fantastic. 2 speakers, one on each side, so that when you have it in landscape turned in that way, you have stereo sound. I already mentioned we've got Touch ID on the power button now on the top. And in addition to that, we have a camera redesign. So this now gets the same camera system as the iPad Air with its 12-megapixel rear camera. And of course, it does keep the 12-megapixel front-facing camera with 122 ultra-wide, 122-degree field of view. But there's a big, big difference that makes this front-facing camera perhaps the best of any of them. And that is that for the first time, it is a landscape camera. This is something reviewers have been wanting for years. And finally, the first iPad to get it is this so-called entry-level iPad. And it's got a landscape 12-megapixel camera for front-facing. It is phenomenal. It's got center stage. It's got everything you could want. And I think you're going to love it. That landscape positioning really helps for video calls. You can turn your iPad in landscape, get more people in the view. And I think everyone's just going to love that. Look, I like to use the iPad in landscape mode. So I was thrilled when I saw that upgrade. Now, we've also improved all the Wi-Fi across the board, all the wireless actually across the board here with the addition of Wi-Fi 6, not 6E, but 6, and Bluetooth 5.2. We also get 5G, my friends. So this is now a 5G capable device for the cellular models. So you want to keep that in mind, okay? Now, this, in addition to all that, continues to be available in 2 storage configurations, 64 gigabytes and 256 gigabytes. The entry level being a $449 64 gig Wi-Fi only iPad 10th generation, all the way up to $749 if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it's $799. I think it's $749 for for the top-of-the-line iPad 10th generation, which is 256 gigabytes with Wi-Fi plus cellular. I've got mine on order, praise God. And I'll tell you this, you're still saving $150 over the iPad Air and not really giving up anything. Again, there are some features maybe that you are giving up: the fully laminated anti-reflective coating display with P3. And of course, you're also giving up the M1 processor. But this A14 Bionic chip is still excellent, right? It's an improvement over the A13, which was no slouch either. So really, really great there. Now, one of the other things that's got the community abuzz with discussion is that this particular iPad has an interesting choice of accessories. And one of the things that's gotten the most attention, garnered the most attention, is the continued use of the first generation Apple Pencil. And the story doesn't end there, because the first generation Apple Pencil continues to ship with a Lightning port at the bottom of it, a Lightning connector at the bottom of it, and you don't have a Lightning connector on your iPad now. So what they have decided to do is to ship a so-called USB-C to Apple Pencil adapter with the packaging right in the box. And the price has not changed of the Apple Pencil. It's only $99. With that, you get this adapter. If you already have a first-gen Apple Pencil, you can add an adapter, as I've done, to your cart and get that for just $9. For $9, you'll get the adapter, and now you're going to connect that to your iPad. You're going to be able to charge it. And I'm not exactly sure how the sequence goes. I think there may be possibly a cable has to go in the middle. So I think you go cable to iPad on one end, and on the other end, cable to pencil by way of the adapter. But you'll do that to pair and to charge. And look, guys, first of all, if you're buying an entry-level iPad, you may remember that I said with the iPad Air earlier this year, and it's not really a criticism. I didn't make it one, and I still don't feel that it is, but it's something to keep in mind, that the point of entry shoots up pretty quickly when you add the price of accessories. So, in my opinion, this is one way of keeping those costs down, because you're actually saving $30 on the cost of the Apple Pencil, right? If you had to get the second generation Apple Pencil, you're going to pay $129. First gen is only $99. It comes now with the new adapter, or you just pick up that adapter for $9 and don't need a new pencil at all, right? Because what would have happened if we had second gen Apple Pencil support? All the 8th and 9th generation iPad users and so forth would now be required to get a new pencil. Here they're not. So they either had to spend $129 for that matter, not just the $99, but at that point, $129, or just a $9 little adapter. And they can continue to use the pencil they already know and love. And by the way, it's every bit as capable as the second gen. It just doesn't have the touch surface on the side, but it is every bit as capable. You'll actually remember maybe me commenting on how much I love the look of that first generation Apple Pencil. I continue to, right? So, and then people go back to this. It's so easy to store the second generation Apple Pencil on the side of the iPad. Look, you will never convince me that an Apple Pencil ought to be stored on the side of an iPad. Not unless there's like a zip-up pocket or something. No, okay? Yes, it's cool for charging, and it is convenient to just click it up there, snap it against the side. It's charging instantly, and I'm sure that when I charge my first generation Apple Pencil, I'll notice that difference. But you know what? I still like it. Praise God the way it is. Easily we can do that. He's enabled us. And you know what, my friends? At the end of the day, you're not going to find me stowing my Apple Pencil on the side of that iPad, even when I can. I've done it, and exactly what I've predicted would happen has happened, which is that you bump it, you knock it loose, all of those kinds of things. Praise God, that's all that has happened. But I'm sure it could be more dramatic than that for some people, right? So I don't get it. I don't get why anybody would want to store their Apple Pencils. Truly stow it. Now, again, if you're sitting at your desk and you're not moving, and you're not moving the iPad for the duration of the day, you got a 6-8 hour work day, and you're going to be drawing off and on all day and not taking the iPad with you, during that 6 to 8 hour day, then sure, that makes sense to leave the iPad stowed on the side of the leave the pencil stowed on the side of the iPad for that period of time, but not normally, right? I always put it in a little case, the carrying case that I have, unless I'm charging it. So, and the way these things are, they get lots and lots of battery life on them to draw. So I just don't see the problem. I don't see what people are so worked up about. And from a functionality standpoint, there's no difference, right? Again, the touch surface on the side is lacking, so you can't just double tap with your finger to change to the eraser. So, look, reach up to the screen and tap eraser, right? And, you still get the same pressure sensitivity. You still get the same palm rejections. You still get the same beautiful low latency. This Apple Pencil is a great Apple Pencil. So it's just important to know which one you're going to pick up. And if you're tempted to think it's the second gen because of the redesign, it's not. So make sure you get the correct Apple Pencil if you've not gotten one yet. But again, the great news for you is if you've been using anything from the 6th generation on up, your pencil is probably still fine as long as it's still got a good battery and everything, depending on when you got it. You just need the little $9 adapter. And if you do want the $9 adapter, by the way, my friends, you better jump on it because it is back ordered beyond belief. I think we're looking at like a month out now. So make sure that you do get that promptly. All right. With what else have they done with accessories? Well, they've brought the Smart Folio to this model iPad, which is available for $79, and there are several colors. We'll talk about color options in a moment when we talk about the iPad colors as well. But just know for now that you do have this folio available, so it does cover the front and the back. That does increase its price a bit to $79, but quite a nice device. And then let's talk about the keyboards. What do they have available this year? They have, my friends, the brand new Magic Keyboard Folio, as it's known. It is the only iPad that can work with this keyboard. The keyboard has been specifically designed right now for this model. And it's $249. So it's still up there, but it's lower than the Magic Keyboard is for any other device, which again, I think is good for the point of entry. And not really anymore is it significantly higher from other, combo type devices. What does this thing give you? Well, first of all, you get the trackpad for the first time from Apple on this iPad. You also get the beautiful Magic Keyboard feel. And so, while I've not typed on it yet because I've not received mine yet, it is, said to be every bit a Magic Keyboard. So it ought to have that same wonderful feel that we know and love from the iPad Air and Pro Magic Keyboard. The major differences here being that for the first time, they've brought a 12-key function row to the top of this keyboard. Now, some of you that can remember well back to the early days of the iPad might remember the keyboard dock that did have a function row, but then it was kind of done away with after that, and only third parties had it, and that was an interesting mixed bag because they'd always seem to change them up depending on the model you had and so forth. So this is directly from Apple, so you couldn't ask for a better setup there. And while I don't think the function keys are typically necessary, and I certainly don't miss them on my Magic Keyboard, and never did on my Smart Keyboard either when I had that generation, I will be excited to see what Apple's implementation is. Presumably, screen brightness, volume, media playback, perhaps Siri, and a variety of other things we can expect from 12 different keys. So I'm kind of excited for that. The other big change here, this particular keyboard folio, the actual keyboard can come off. So you can remove the keyboard and allow just the back to remain on the iPad, lightens it up for you, thins it out for you on the top, and provides the protection you still may want for the back of the iPad while allowing the screen to shine without the keyboard if you're not going to be doing any heavy typing. Now, again, if you're going to carry this around a lot, I don't think that's the best option. I think then get the Smart Folio also, as I did, and then you can switch them out when you want to. But maybe there are times when this is the appropriate way to go. Certainly, it gives a greater degree of flexibility than the Magic Keyboard for the Air and Pro. And don't get me wrong, I still love that Magic Keyboard for the Air and Pro. Using it as we speak, love it, use it every day. But we've made it very clear, and I said to you from the beginning, when that is on, this is in mechanical typing mode. That is the only way you're going to do it, and you can't change the look of it at all for anything. And here with this new iPad 10th generation, they've actually given you the option. So they've combined the best of the Smart Keyboard with the best of the Magic Keyboard. Now, it does not have backlit keys, I'm told, though that was from a third party. So I will verify that later. But to my knowledge, it does not have backlit keys. But it does have the use of the smart connector. So no battery, no Bluetooth, no pairing. Okay? Simple and easy, straightforward, and a great device. All right, my friends, the iPad 10th generation is available in 4 apparently very vibrant colors. We've got blue, we've got pink, we've got silver, and we've got a brand new yellow color. And I don't remember all of the Smart Folio colors, but I believe that they kind of are made to correspond. I do remember lemonade and watermelon. I got myself a lemonade one to go with my yellow iPad, and we'll see. But people say that the colors are very vibrant, so they're going to be a lot of fun for people, I think. And there is a white folio, I think, and then the Magic Keyboard Folio comes in only one color, and I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that that's white, but I can't remember. I may be wrong on that. All right, so don't hold me to that. And again, price point here is great at just $449 starting, all the way up to $749 at the top end. And then $249 for the keyboard, $99 for the pencil, and $79 for the Smart Folio. This has the best price point of entry, and because you still have that $329 option, I really do believe everybody can find something that they like. And so I think this is a worthwhile upgrade from any previous iPad because of the fact that you are getting a lot more. Processor increase, memory increase, redesign, USB-C, better keyboard options, better camera options, especially that landscape camera. My goodness, friends. So, better Wi-Fi, better cellular with 5G. This is a very relevant device, and in my opinion, one of the best ones in the lineup. Now, what will make our holiday gift guide? We don't know. Well, maybe I do, but you don't, and you won't until it's released in a little while, so stay tuned for that. But know that I do think this is a very worthwhile upgrade for most people. Now, who may not decide that they're going to change it out would be an iPad Pro user, because they can get a different model. If they still want the Pro, they can get an iPad Pro, which has also been upgraded for this year. Again, some people are getting the comments out there, but it's not a big upgrade. It's pretty modest, and that's true. But again, where it matters, I think it's been upgraded. So what do we have? What's changed? Well, the main thing that's changed is we now have the M2 processor. So this is the M2 chip. I don't know, people, look, my friends, do you get the fact that a tablet is using the very, very latest desktop class processor that Apple has, which is the best in the industry ever, anywhere on a device? This is an 8-core processor with a now 10-core graphics and 16-core neural engine, a dedicated media engine, so you've got decoding and encoding handled separately with hardware acceleration. This is a phenomenal processor, even better than the previous generation, which was already off the charts. And it's now on the iPad Pro. In and of itself, that should be enough. All right, we're still getting 8 gigabytes of RAM and 16, depending on which models we choose. Still the same storage configurations, 128, 256, 512, 1 terabyte, and 2 terabytes. And the 128 gig, 256, and 512 all come with 8 gigabytes of RAM. 1 and 2 terabyte models come with 16. We're also still getting the same color options at space gray and silver. I guess they figure these real pros aren't interested in all the flashy colors. But you can spice things up and spruce things up with color if you add a Smart Folio. And the accessories are the same: 2nd gen Apple Pencil, Magic Keyboard with trackpad, Smart Keyboard Folio, and of course, Smart Folio. Now, speaking of the 2nd gen Apple Pencil, there's a new feature being brought to this iPad due to the advanced technology, I guess, and Apple calls it Hover. This allows you to test out what you're drawing by sort of hovering the Apple Pencil just over the display in the air and to draw before they really do draw. And also, it can sense as the pencil's coming close and expand your edit boxes to accommodate handwriting and drawing and so forth. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Now, again, let's just review what else this device has, because it's already got some great stuff. 4 speakers instead of just 2, and phenomenal audio, right? Unparalleled to any other tablet. You have a display that does have everything I mentioned in the 10th generation, so your True Tone, your Liquid Retina and everything, but it does have the full lamination, the wide color P3, and of course the anti-reflective coating. It also has Pro Motion, which is the only iPad in the lineup to have it. It's something you'll find on the iPhones of today as well, and it allows the frame rate to be variable depending on what you're doing and go all the way up to 120 hertz refresh rate. I think I said frame rate, but refresh rate. This is a great display, best in the industry. And if you go up to the 12.9 inch, of course, you're actually getting that 6K XDR display. But either way, 600 nits of brightness. And by the way, when we talk about the display, we should also then talk, of course, about some of the other hardware. And this does have the same great camera systems from last year. So the 12 megapixel and 10 megapixel, you've got ultra wide, you've got the brighter True Tone flash, you have the LiDAR scanner, then of course your front facing camera, though it's not landscape, is the beautiful 12 megapixel 122 degree field of view wide angle, ultra wide camera with center stage. Remember, that's actually where center stage was pioneered, was on this iPad Pro. And so that still has it. Also, this is the only iPad in the lineup to have Face ID and the True Depth camera system. So we can do Animoji and Memoji directly on the device, and certainly we can use Face ID, which is just incredible. Also upgraded here is the Wi-Fi. So we have 5G. I think there may be even new 5G bands. I'm not sure on that one. Don't hold me to that, but definitely still 5G, of course. And we have, for the first time on any Apple product, period, Wi-Fi 6E. Now, Wi-Fi 6E, I could do a whole separate video about. In my opinion, it's not a reason to buy the iPad today if that's your only factor. There are some other factors like M2 and stuff like that. So this is a worthwhile upgrade for a lot of people. I'm not saying that it's not, but I'm saying don't use Wi-Fi 6E as the sole compelling reason. I do think Apple was very smart to bring it first to this iPad, because this is a pro-level device. But I also have to say that a lot of professional organizations and entities are not going to have Wi-Fi 6E yet. That stuff actually tends to come to consumers first, because a lot of your enterprise-grade access point systems, number one, just don't get replaced that often, and number two, don't have those newest standards yet, because they're really looking for what is reliable and stable. Not that that isn't, but they just kind of go with what they know. And it's only been a couple of months now that we've really seen quality enterprise-grade access point systems that have Wi-Fi 6. And so now definitely some people can get it. Comcast customers can actually pretty easily get that Wi-Fi 6E support in the XB8. If you can get your hands on one, they're in a bit of short supply, but they are available and they will continue to come. And, next time you need to upgrade, again, I wouldn't call Comcast unless I'm already due anyway. For my family and me, we're perfectly happy with our XB7, which is Wi-Fi 6, and it's great. And it's actually quite phenomenal. One of the best Wi-Fi devices out there. And so, but the next time you need one, then maybe, ask that you get at least that. But not a reason to just jump right now and do it. So Wi-Fi 6E, and again, it's great all around. So these are these begin at $799 for the iPad Pro 11-inch, and excuse me, it goes up to $999 if you add cellular capability. That is for 128 gigabytes of storage. Actually, for most people, that's probably quite enough. That's probably quite sufficient, especially when you take into consideration that you have iCloud, and you can upgrade your iCloud storage. And you have external drive support, because remember, these iPads do support external drives. And apps like LumaFusion for video editing, where all that storage really matters, do allow for you to use external drives directly in the app. So you don't have to copy first the files over to your iPad to edit them. You can edit and work with them right off of an external drive because of the Thunderbolt support. So this has Thunderbolt, up to 40 Gbps, I guess it is. And another thing this iPad has, by the way, is the camera can actually shoot in ProRes now for the first time. So they say you've really got a complete video studio in your hands, and that is true. And whether that ProRes is going to be in HD or 4K is going to depend on how much storage you have on the device. The 128 gig will do ProRes in HD, but it will shoot 4K non-ProRes. Regular video can be shot in 4K even on the 128 model, and that's very wise, because again, that kind of video just takes up tons and tons of storage space. And if you are going to be editing a lot of video on a 128, you're probably going to want to use an external drive. But, for basic video editing in Apple Clips and iMovie and stuff, an occasional project here and there, you really don't need the external drive. But if you do, the cool thing is you could, potentially save a bit up front by getting the 128 and then just adding an external drive for those times when you really need it. And you won't need it all the time. Again, I really encourage the use of iCloud storage above anything else, and everything else. So that's how that works. Now, if you want the larger screen, the 12.9-inch is going to cost you $10.99 starting price, and up from there. And of course, again, it's cellular. It increases the price, although I think it's well worth it. So those, my friends, were the products that were announced by Apple. They add to the already fantastic lineup of iPhone 14 series devices, 14, 14 Plus, 14 Pro, 14 Pro Max, and of course, SE and your HomePods and all the Macs that are out there. Apple's got, I think, the strongest lineup they've ever had, and I am actually really impressed with what they've done with these iPads. Now, again, what iPad or iPads plural will make the holiday gift guide, we can only speculate. But what I do want to answer is the question, should I upgrade to this iPad Pro if I have an older iPad Pro? And I think I kind of pretty clearly said that the 10th generation iPad is a worthwhile upgrade for almost anybody. And even if you need a second iPad, it's a great way to go, right? The Pro, if you've got the 2021 iPad Pro that came out, I guess it was not this past spring, but last year, 2021 spring, when they first brought M1 to the iPad Pro, then maybe it's not urgent for you to upgrade, although it still wouldn't be a bad move because you are getting some new features, right? Just the M2 in and of itself, again, is just another revolution of an already incredible revolution. But if you have anything older than that, so, anything from the 2018 or 2020 iPads, because keep in mind, those had the A12. Now, they were A12, A12X Bionic, and they had, I guess, the A12Z in the 2020 iPad Pro. But it's interesting because, I think that's a pretty big step up for you to go to this new iPad. So if you've got the 2018 or the 2020 iPad Pro or any older iPad, or you just want to have some of these features that are exclusive to the Pro, whether it be the LiDAR, whether it be four speakers, whether it be Face ID on an iPad, whether it be Thunderbolt support, whether it be ProMotion on the display, whether it be the additional storage options that you can get, right? The whole package is quite enticing. And so maybe it's time for you to consider an iPad Pro. Now, do I personally like the 11 or the 12.9 inch better? I've got to go with the 11. I think the 12.9 is just a bit too big for my personal liking, but that is entirely personal preference. Nobody can tell you. You got to decide for yourself. The 11 inch is basically the identical form factor to the iPad Air, and quite honestly, now the iPad 10th generation, but just has a little more screen. And again, the weight here, I believe, is 1.04 in the Wi-Fi Plus cellular model of the 11 inch. So just a little bit, heavier than the iPad Air, but not by much. Again, all the same accessories will continue to work. Smart Folio, and they've got some colors for you to choose from there. They've got, I think it's called marine blue, if I'm not mistaken, which is a beautiful ocean kind of blue color. I forget what some of the other ones were that they had even, but there are several different colors available. And in addition to that, of course, you can get the Magic Keyboard with trackpad in white or black. There's also the Smart Keyboard Folio, and so you've got, and the second generation Apple Pencil, of course. So, point of entry here is significantly higher than the, iPad 10th generation. But I think that they might serve different target audiences, or maybe the same target audience that wants two iPads, for example. So, to sum up all of this, I am very, very impressed with what Apple has done here across the board. I think they are fantastic announcements. Super excited to get my hands on all of these new devices, and I think every one of them is well worth consideration in its own right for one reason or another. If you do have last year's models, there is nothing that absolutely must compel you to instantly upgrade if you choose to wait a little. Those devices are well poised to remain quite useful and functional for you for several years yet more, and really to provide a great experience while doing so. But I do think looking at these new devices is not a bad idea at all. I want to thank you for joining us, my friends, and once again remind you to please like, subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment if you'd like to. We are going to be back very soon. Holiday gift guide coming up next month, but perhaps even some videos even before that, not to mention our free classes, which definitely will be posted before that. And so, again, I want to thank you so much, my friends. God bless you. Thanks for joining us today, and we are going to see you back here next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.